Morning, Heather
Hi,
and Chris,
folks.
Stephanie, and Michelle. All right.
Welcome. Do we have everybody pretty much in?
So far,
Hi.
yes.
All right, great. Well, we're going to go ahead and start since our 30 minutes flies by. And again, welcome to the ISACS webinar series, Fix Your Meetings. Today is part 3, and we are back again with Claire Bolger. And today's topic is Charting a Course for Success. I'm Jill Webb, Isaac's Director of Learning, and we're so happy you're with us today. And again, welcoming my colleague, Mary Menacho, Isaac's Executive Director. You will see in her square. And if you'd like, we invite you to add your name, school, city, state, role at your school if you'd like to. And then you can scroll through and see who is learning with you today. Today's webinar is being recorded and you can access the recording all the way until the end of March. And Claire will be posting the recordings and resources on the dedicated resource page, which was included in the registered school contacts confirmation email. We will, of course, send that back out to you at the end. A reminder about our presenter. Claire Bolger is a facilitator, podcaster, and a comedian who is determined to use her expertise in facilitation methodology. She co-developed the newest version of facilitation cards and uses her depth of understanding around facilitation and meeting dynamics in her company, The Meeting Medic, where she helps people fix their meetings one meeting at a time. Please join me in welcoming back Claire Bolger.
Hi, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Jill. I'm going to take over the screen for just a few seconds to say good morning to everyone. Hello, welcome to our third workshop together. Today we are going to chart a course for the destination using processes. And if that doesn't make sense now, it will at the end. As Jill said, I'm Claire. I'm founder of the Meeting Medic, half the facilitator cards team. We're going to get a chance to use some facilitator cards today because today we are going to be breaking down what makes a successful agenda. We're going to make an intentional choice about which process will get us the specific outcome that we're looking for. And we're going to review a meeting checklist and facilitator recap resource that I've made for everyone. Today, we'll be doing a scenario worksheet. We're going to do a solo breakout room, so that's something to look forward to. We're going to have a brief discussion. Everybody's going to leave with a few resources, and collectively, we're going to learn how to chart a course for our destination. Three of the questions that I took from the Q&A to kind of help shape this meeting today were what are some strategies to promote engagement and connection as a group? How can we prioritize relationship building before meetings and beyond icebreakers? And how often is too often to have meetings? So we'll be covering hopefully all three of those today. And before I keep talking, I would love to invite everyone's voice into the room. So if everybody would like to come off mute, unmute yourself, and I will count down 3, 2, 1, and we're all just going to wave and say good morning to each other. All right, we did it so fast this morning. All right, ready? 3, 2, 1. Hello, hi, good
Hello.
morning. Perfect, thank you. All right, we got some Montessori schools repped in the chat. Wonderful. That's so cool. My nephews go to Montessori schools. Okay, what I would love from everyone first up is just a moment of reflection. So if everybody can take out a piece of paper and a pen, we are going to do just 1 minute of writing. Blank Word document works as well. If you don't want to handwrite, you can absolutely feel free to type. But the question that we will be answering today is my favorite part of a meeting is. So I'm going to give you 1 minute. The timer will be on the screen so you'll know how much time you have. And just what is your favorite part of a meeting? All right, timer's up. If you want to go ahead and wrap up what you were writing. And what I'll invite everyone to do now is actually open up the chat and just fill in this blank. My favorite part of a meeting is blank. And for those of you who are in a group, if you want to send in one or three different ones, you can kind of create a consensus or go individual. All right, engaging conversation, laughter, wonderful. Everyone has their voices heard. When the meeting is over and people want to sit around conversing around the topic, that is a really wonderful indicator. I also want to say that I expected it to end at when the meeting is over, which is also a lovely and perfectly valid response because a lot of times those are when people create very tight agendas, is when they like the end of the meeting the most. Hearing new ideas, when groupthink starts to happen in a positive way, absolutely. Settling in, not icebreakers. Yep. One of my big tips is just don't call your icebreaker an icebreaker. Just give the instructions. People clam up when they hear the word icebreaker. And so even if some people are very on board, you're going to lose probably about 50% of the room to just like, I can't deal with an icebreaker this morning. And so I just like to avoid those. Great. Thank you. What I'll note about all of these responses is that everyone had a different one. So everyone has a different favorite part of the meeting. Maybe not especially different, but certainly different elements appeal to different people. And so when we're creating agendas, it's just important that we vary how we're engaging people so that we can kind of guarantee that we'll hit more people's favorite part. If they got to experience something that they enjoy during the meeting, they're more likely to leave feeling like satisfied, like it mattered they were there. And so the more we kind of vary those methods of engagement, the more likely it is that more people got to experience their favorite part of a meeting. Okay, great. Thank you all for filling in that blank. So one of the questions that we'll be answering today is like strategies to promote engagement and connection as a group. And my favorite thing about that is that like a very good agenda ideally inherently kind of promotes engagement and connection. People like to succeed together. I like to think of it as kind of like a sports team mentality. And so when the sports team wins, it's a lot easier for the team to feel connected and bonded. And so when we give people like what the goal is, um, we want to score goals and things like that, we are able to give everyone kind of the collective sense that they've achieved something together as a group. And that is always very helpful. So today we are going to be doing a scenario worksheet that we'll get to in just a moment. And before we do, I just want to give everybody kind of like two questions to consider while they're filling that out. So we're going to choose our how. We've been talking a lot about kind of the what of a meeting and how it's our responsibility as facilitators to choose the how. So today you're going to get a chance to actually sit down with a scenario and pick which how appeals to you. There are two questions that I just want everybody to kind of, or two kind of statements that I want everybody to keep in mind while they do that. The first is, how does this get us closer to the goal? So how does this get us to the place that the group wants to be? How does this action that we're going to take get us to better ideas or get us to that clarity that we're seeking? How does this help us make a decision? So that's just one factor to consider. And the other factor, and the one I want to emphasize today, because we're facilitators and we're getting a chance to just talk about facilitation, is how do I want to facilitate this meeting? It's important to remember that we are also at the meeting. And so it's important that our time is also something that we're prioritizing, how we're spending it. But this also goes into what I was mentioning in that last workshop around facilitation style. Everybody has a different facilitation style and energy that they bring to it. And leaning into your authentic self and leading into your kind of leadership style is something I really want to encourage everyone to feel free to do. There's not one archetype that works best. And so how do you want to facilitate this meeting? What instructions do you enjoy giving? How do you like to be interacted with from your participants and not just them to us? Okay, great. So now that we have those kind of questions kicking around, we are going to do the scenario worksheet. And how we're going to do this is in individual breakout rooms. So I'm going to send the links in the chat. There are kind of two options for this. So if you want to download it to your Google Docs, There is a link there that will just prompt you to make a copy of it straight into your Google Doc. Let me just triple check. Yes, perfect. And the other option I have for you today is a fillable PDF. So if Google is not your bag, you can download the scenario worksheet and just click on the boxes and you'll be able to type straight into it. So we're going to go into individual breakout rooms. So you will be in there all on your own. No one is coming to join you, and I won't be like randomly stopping by. So you don't need to be on defense. If you have any questions when you're filling this out, or if you finish early and you want to come back and hang out with me and have a little chat, I'll be in the main room the entire time. So you're going to go into breakout rooms. You'll be in there totally solo. No one's coming in. You can turn off your camera, do whatever you want to do in there. And it'll be a fun little experience for everyone to have. Welcome back. Had anyone done a solo breakout room before? Was that a new experience for anyone? Did you enjoy thumbs up, thumbs down? Was it thumbs up? All right. Zoom is so interesting that way. Solo breakout rooms are one of those unique things that we can do in a Zoom. In person, we all just would have put our heads down, and that would have been fine and lovely. But in Zoom, there's just kind of one way that I found to recreate that magic, and it's to put people in their solo breakout rooms. And some people got to be together because they're already together, which is also lovely. Okay, now that we are back, what I would love to know from everyone is just which process did you choose? And how I'd like you to tell me is on this poll. So hopefully the poll has popped up for everyone. You can go ahead and choose which one you chose. And if you combined or sequenced them, you can let me know that as well. I did not give that as an option before we left, so no pressure to have done that. But we have at least one person who naturally inclined and did that anyway, so perfect. Okay. We're waiting on one more response, I think. Okay. And if anyone who was in that group together of three, if you have a different response than one got put in the poll, feel free to pop it in the chat. But we'll have a minute to expand. Okay, so the votes are in. We have got the vast majority of us went for sticky note generator. We've got one for parent share, and we've got someone who sequenced. So no one chose I Know I Wonder solo, at least, which is always interesting. Okay, here are the results so that everybody can see them. Great. Thank you all so much for participating in my little poll. What I'd love to know from, well, only one person said they chose parent share, so unfortunately I am going to maybe put you on the spot, but you don't have to answer. The person who chose parent share, Michelle, would you like to kind of share what drew you to parent share?
Sure. I in our group who typically are in the all faculty meeting, there are a couple people who monopolize the airtime. So I do like a parent share because it gives the opportunity for everybody's voice. I do like a sticky note generator in other settings, but right now I guess I'm just acutely aware of trying to make sure everybody's voice is captured in the room.
Great.
And it also allows for people who work in different areas of the buildings to be able to maybe have a couple minutes to get to connect with each other when they don't typically get to see each other. And then you can also pre-decide who you want to have work with one another too. Gives you a little bit control over that. So
Absolutely. All incredible points. Thank you so much for saying that. Yes, and we had a question about like how do we prioritize relationship building, and I want to say what you emphasized there was group size and putting people in pairs and just giving them a moment with people that they might not work with all the time, or maybe just don't speak about these issues or whatever you're discussing. And so it's kind of a natural byproduct of a great meeting is that you'll be able to interact with people in different ways throughout it. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Would anyone who chose sticky note generator want to share what drew them to that process? There were four
I
votes.
can go.
Perfect. Thank you, Heather.
I enjoyed that one because one, the sticky notes communicate that you can have lots of ideas. You don't have to have just one. And then I like when they all go up there, you can naturally make groups of similar ideas. And then it kind of whittles down to kind of the right idea when you do that process.
Perfect. Yes, absolutely. I love the visualization of seeing all of them. I think it really reinforces that everyone has ideas. The other thing I'll say about sticky note generators, sometimes people get worried about writing down unfeasible or unreasonable ideas. And I like to let people write down any idea because no matter what, it usually gets involved in the discussion somehow. Even if it's an unfeasible one, what's making it not feasible? Can we figure out some of the intrigue around it and work that into the final decision as well? Perfect. And whoever sequenced their events, do you want to share or their processes? Do you want to share what your sequence was and why? You don't have to. Okay. If you, I'm going to say a little bit about I Know I Wonder, because that one is usually not the one that's directly chosen. It is kind of one of the more abstract processes, but what it allows me to do as a facilitator is capture people's ideas myself. So if you're interested in kind of that level of agency of I want to be the one writing down the ideas, I want to be the one kind of clarifying like this is what you meant by that. The other thing that I love about I Know I Wonder is that it creates an inherent sense that people should have questions. A lot of times in meetings, we're kind of trying to get around that psychological safety element of people being afraid to admit they don't know something. And so when we make it explicit that we know there are things they don't know, or we expect that there are things that they're wondering about, we're able to engage them in a slightly different way and hopefully kind of overcome that barrier a little bit more quickly. The other thing, the reason I ask about sequences is usually people kind of do more than one. When we're in a brainstorm, it's not just that we'll sticky note generate. Heather, you said it so perfectly. After you sticky note generate, you're going to categorize them. You're going to do something else with the sticky notes. So it's never just a process happening in isolation. They're all kind of stringing together to build to our kind of ultimate agenda. So I have one more kind of question for you in the chat, which is just fill in this blank. This scenario helped me consider blank. Meeting formats, outcomes, and goals, incorporate everyone's voice. One of my favorite things to do. Brainstorms, I think, are really one of our easiest ways that we get to do that is just literally give me an idea, just one idea. And another way I like to do that is just give people an expectation that they might have three ideas. Like I'd like three ideas from everyone instead of just an idea. And suddenly people will go like, oh, I have to get to three. Okay. And they'll work a little bit past their kind of first thought, best thought. Allow all to have their voice heard. Yes, wonderful. All of these are just great ways to engage, and we don't have to be super strict or serious about them. It's just one method. Making people write on sticky notes. The other thing I love about it is that it's a small space, so they don't get too attached to their idea because they have to keep it surface level. And another great tip on that is if you want them to go even less into detail, pass out really thick markers. And then people have even less ability to fill up the whole sticky note. Okay, wonderful. Thank you all so much for your thoughts on that. I want to share some resources with you that will hopefully be helpful, and I'll kind of review them with you as I share them. So the first one is a meeting checklist and review. So this is my parents are pilots, so I have a big pre-flight checklist kind of mode in life. And so that is a copy of a Google Doc that you can make a copy of. And there is also a PDF in there now. Again, it's fillable, so it's a literal checklist. But what these are is just some questions to consider before you have your meeting. Very straightforward, just making sure like, yes, I have invited everyone. Yes, I have thought through that thing. And then it's a review recap afterwards. So you can kind of just sit down, spend 3 minutes just thinking through how the meeting went, what you want to do next time. A lot of times when we're finished with something, we're like, I'll remember, I'll know for next time. And then we get to next time, we're like, oh, I really wish I had written it down. I'm a big fan of like, our brains are wonderful places to have ideas and terrible places to store them. And so writing things down is my, if you haven't noticed a theme across all of these workshops, I'm a big fan of writing things down for us and for other people. So that is my kind of pre-flight checklist. And then the other thing I'm going to share with you is an agenda. I call it my agenda builder, agenda outline. This is how I set up my agendas for workshops, meetings. You can add more columns if you'd like. But what I always try to emphasize in my agendas are the materials, the group size, and the time, which you'll notice are also on the bottom of all of the facilitator cards that were on that scenario worksheet for you. Having different materials means I've engaged people in slightly different ways. So it's also helpful for me because I'm like, I need to bring a flip chart. I need to bring sticky notes without having to remember that in the moment. Group size, it's just varying it a few times. Most of them are going to be full group, but full group tends to be the least accessible for people to actually make connections and build things with other people. So just making sure that occasionally you've thrown in a pair, a solo, a small group even. And time is one of those things that the more exacting we can get with how much time things take, the better we can kind of estimate how long a meeting should be. One thing that I'll say to kind of pre-answer a Q&A that we have is how many meetings is how much is too often to have a meeting. Meetings don't all have to be the same length of time. A lot of meetings default to an hour. And I just think that people love the novelty of a 20-minute meeting. They love the expectation that it's a brief part of their day. For me, I think as long as the meeting is effective, there's no such thing as too many meetings, as long as your team doesn't feel like their day is being disrupted too many times. The other part of that is making sure that your guest list is nice and controlled. So if you have 5 meetings in a day, but you're meeting with 5 different groups of people, as long as it's not too many meetings for you, it's certainly not probably going to be too often for them. So just making sure that who is at your meeting is something that you've carefully considered. Okay, so those are the resources I want to give you. The other things I want to mention are just some facilitation resources. So facilitator cards are the ones we use today. These will all be on the resource page for you as well. But facilitator cards are the ones that I am most familiar with. And so I do just want to give you some links really quickly. We have a preview pack that has 12 different cards in there. All of the resources that you've gotten also have some cards, but these have some clarify and decision-making cards. And then we do have an offer of 10% off for everybody from ISACS for the full deck if you're interested in that. Okay. So prioritizing relationships really comes down to allowing people to build relationships during the meeting itself and just thinking through how people interact. And there's no such thing as too often to have a meeting if the meeting is valuable. I have a saying that no one hates meetings. What we hate is bad meetings. And so as long as we think our meetings are valuable and worthwhile, that is a worthwhile way to spend time together. We are coming to the end of our half hour. And so I would just love I have one more question for you to answer in the chat, which is just, what is one thing you want to remember or keep in mind when you're planning your next meeting? Wisdom of the collective, my favorite phrase. We have so many wonderful opportunities to find out other people's wisdom in meetings. And I think that that is one of the most valuable things we have. Time is well spent. Yes. All participants, including us, we are participants as well. Fresh, interesting, and engaging. Three really wonderful adjectives there. Recap. Yes. Recaps are so important for me personally. It's the fastest way I think to grow as a facilitator is to kind of review our own game tape. So if you can record your meetings, that's even incredible. Voice memos work too, so you can really hear how you're giving instructions. Be prepared with an agenda and be efficient. Yes. Wonderful wisdom in the group chat today. One more thing I'll mention right as we're wrapping up is just a book recommendation that I love to give because it's thin. It's called The Thin Book of Trust by Charles Feltman. This will also be on the resource page. But he breaks down trust as one of the kind of inherent key parts of a team and breaks it down into kind of 4 categories of trust. So this will be on the resource page, but I did just want to mention it because I think it's the book I recommend to every single person who is a leader in life. Trust is key for team building. Okay, we've reached 11 a.m. Thank you all so much for being here today. Thank you to Jill and Mary and ISACS for having me. I would love to wrap up our classic way, which is everybody can unmute one more time. You can find that leave button in the bottom right-hand corner. And we're going to sign off 3, 2, 1, and then we're all going to wave and say goodbye. All right, perfect. 3, 2, 1, goodbye. Have a great rest of your
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Tuesday.